On this episode of Old Joe's Reminiscence, can the leader of an industrial dome help Devon and Company save the Ark? Ed Ames guest stars. This episode of the Starlost originally aired on November 24th, 1973, and once again, I can't remember anything about this episode from 50 years ago. If you can't remember watching it, I'd recommend doing so before we are formally introduced to Mr. Smith from Manchester. The story begins with a shot of a miniature that seems to represent an industrial area. Devon, Rachel, and Garth are tethered together and led into and lined up against a wall of what appears to be an office waiting area. Their captors stand at attention. Holy short mini dress and go-go boots! You gotta love the 70s fashions. Those legs belong to Patty Elsasser, performing in her only screen credit. A door opens and a woman wearing a more sensible but not very attractive pantsuit leads a man dressed all in white into the room. Whoa, check out that dude's sideburns. He is Ed Ames, who was a member of the Ames Brothers vocal group. He's playing the episode's title character, Mr. Smith.
Ed Ames was born Edmund Urich on July 9, 1927 in Massachusetts. Ed was the youngest of 9 children. 4 of them formed a singing quartet, the Amory Brothers. They later changed the group's name to the Ames Brothers. They recorded numerous songs beginning in 1947, and the group finally topped the charts in 1950 when Rag Mop hit number 1. More chart toppers would follow, but the singing group disbanded in the early 1960s. At that point Ed decided to go into acting. He started out on stage, performing in both Broadway and off-Broadway productions. His facial features and dark complexion made him a natural to play Native Americans. He portrayed Mingo, a Cherokee Indian on the NBC drama Daniel Boone. One of the most memorable television moments of all time occurred when Ames demonstrated his tomahawk throwing skills on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson.
I didn't even know you were Jewish.
Ed spent his later years concentrating on stage productions. Ed Ames died on May 21, 2023 at the age of 95.
I believe my mom listened to the Ames Brothers songs. I know I played some on the air when I was an announcer at WNUF-FM.
You, I'm in love with you.
Their one captor with a speaking role says he found the 3 wandering around the filtration plant.
We'll get to them in a minute.
Sensoring devices in central master tubes and all associated tubes for traffic and supply indicate no military probes, no civilian traffic.
Their computer voice isn't that of William Osler. It's Jim Barron, the man who played Garth's father in the previous episode, Gallery of Fear.
What do you make of it, Trent?
I don't think it's a probe. I don't think it's any kind of military reconnaissance at all.
Trent is being portrayed by London-born actress Pat Galloway, who did occasional screen performances from the late 1950s until about 1990. She says that the 3 could be spies. Or maybe...
Yes?
3 innocent travelers?
Nah, Mr. Smith isn't buying that. Besides, Garth came armed with his crossbow. We haven't seen that in a few episodes. I wonder where he's been keeping it in the interim.
They came armed. Somehow they got in. Out of sensor range, and then through impregnable defenses. Now tell me, how do they do all of that without some sort of sophisticated military intelligence and support?
I was wondering how they did it too. We then get a formal introduction.
This is Mr. Smith, President of the Biosphere. I'm Trent, aide-de-camp. You will answer all questions put to you.
Your names and origins, your military rank, the names of your superiors, and the details of your mission.
You really think we're spies, don't you? Do we look like spies?
And this is where they're supposed to get hauled off struggling. But no. Devon does one of his, "Wait a minute, please." And they all stop to listen to him.
Wait a minute! Wait a minute!
Why does that work every time?
Just wait a minute. You really think we're spies? Well, you listen to me. We're from Cypress Corners. We were coming through an iris looking for help to get the Ark back on course and avoid a collision with a solar star. The next thing we know, we're in your biosphere. A door, or an iris, whatever it is that you call it, closed behind us. We couldn't even find a seam in the metal. And your guards arrest us.
We've done nothing to you. What threat could we possibly be?
Mr. Smith nods his head, and the secretary brings up the tape of the 3 reconnoitering the main gate.
You were being taped by remote control every moment you were reconnoitering the main gate. And those cover stories. The weakest that an inferior intelligence service could devise. We'll get the truth from you. Electronic interrogation.
While they're being interrogated, Mr. Smith comes up with some outlandish ideas. He gets some strange looks from Trent as he's detailing a fantasy sabotage plan in minute detail.
You're the first to go underground among our people, test their morale, and report secretly to your leader.
No!
You plan to explode devices in our factories, sabotage our war effort, and leave us vulnerable. Then signal the precise moment, breach the main gate, pour in your soldiers and weapons, and annihilate us.
We're not enemies to anyone!
You're our enemies!
No!
You're cowards to come without uniforms, liars to deny the truth.
No!
Paranoid much? When he's determined that he's not going to get any information from them, he nods his head and Trent shuts down the electronic torture. The more the evidence indicates that they're telling the truth, the more Smith is convinced that they've been programmed.
They've been programmed to lie, of course, to give not the slightest sign, and pulse rate, psychological reaction, emotional stability. The best programming I've ever seen.
But who has the technology to do such a thing?
They're dangerous, Trent. You mark my words.
They're from Cypress Corners, an agricultural society. They're simple, earthy people. They don't know how to lie.
You've been working too hard, Trent. I think you better take some sick leave. All right, bring them out of it. Oh, there now, you see? You feel better, don't you?
What's the sense of torturing someone if they won't live in constant fear of it happening again? Smith is playing Mr. Congeniality as he asks them to join him in a meal. Yeah, what better way to get someone to talk than to ply them with food?
Say, look, Why don't we break some bread together? I can't think of a better way to get to know each other.
Rachel is escorted to a room where she can freshen up.
You must think us bores. Let me apologize. You're more than welcome in Manchester. And for the remainder of your stay, you're honored guests.
And you don't think we're spies?
Well, you may accuse us of stupidity or even paranoia, but not gracelessness. We admit our errors when they're pointed out to us.
Well, I don't understand who are your enemies. We've hardly seen a sign of life anywhere in the Ark.
We haven't exchanged words with the enemy, for that matter, anyone in the Ark, since the Dome Wars.
That huge door, the entrance to this biosphere, why do they lock you in like that?
Well, that's a source of embarrassment. And grossly unfair. When the Ark set out, we were here specifically for the purpose of manufacturing small arms and handguns for the day that we might be encountering unfriendly territories. Well, as I understand it, things got a bit out of hand, and they came to believe that we were a danger to the Ark.
While Trent escorts the three to their assigned quarters, the secretary comes in with a computer printout.
Trent, show them some good, comfortable quarters here in the inner city. Ah, Rachel, I trust you enjoyed your new quarters?
Trent tries to come to grips with the reality that they've been living in constant fear of an enemy that doesn't exist.
If what you say is true, we've been spending our lives for generations building armaments for a war that will never happen. Living in a paranoid isolation, in fear of enemies that don't exist, and all in the name of security.
Trent admits that they're mad, and President Smith is the worst of the madmen.
You must never lead him out. Never show him the way. I'm warning you, all of you. Listen to me.
Act 2 begins with that miniature set again. Devon and Garth are just coming to after being stunned by the men who'd taken Trent away.
What kind of place is this? The people are all savages.
Trent is his aide. How can he treat her like that? We gotta get out of here.
We can't. You heard what she said. We're their prisoners. We couldn't find the way out even if they let us go.
Yeah, well, I'm for trying right now. Look, you see Smith. We'll scout around.
They decide to attempt an escape. But first, Devon barges in on Smith, who's playing with model tanks and rocket launchers.
Don't stand on ceremony. Come on in. Come on.
Where's Trent? Your guards attacked her.
Well, I heard that she was arrested, but I can't believe she was treated brutally.
Well, she was.
Smith asks the secretary to bring up the report, and we hear Jim Barron announce,
Trent arrested, charged treason, resisted arrest, handled with minimum force, removed by stretcher.
It's a lie.
I don't like the script here. There are just too many inconsistencies in the dialogue. There's a discussion of whether security dragged Trent out or used a stretcher. They're speaking as if she was unconscious, but as I recall, she walked out of the room. And wasn't Devon unconscious? How does he know? Devon asks Smith what he meant by treason, but it was the computer that mentioned that. I sort of agree with Mr. Smith when he asks,
Aren't you getting rather deeply involved? What does Trent mean to you? You realize, of course, if she's convicted, you could be punished as an accessory.
What's this? What's this have to do with it?
War plans. Complete logistics for a full military attack on the Ark, drawn up in fine detail by your good friend Trent.
This has to be a forgery. Why would she suggest an attack on the Ark? Where is she? I want to see her.
She's being held incommunicado.
Well, I want to make sure that she's all right.
It can't be done.
If he suspects Devon of being a spy, should he be showing him these plans? I'm getting tired of how Devon always resorts to threatening and dictating to a dictator of practically every dome he encounters. Meanwhile, Garth and Rachel are exploring. Garth mentions a computer module he observes nearly hidden behind some crates of explosives.
One of those computer modules.
It's the first one we've seen in this biosphere.
Doesn't look like it's been used for years.
With all the security Smith ordered, shouldn't someone have arrested them by now? I mean, they just waltz right into an unguarded storage area full of tanks.
Tanks and guns.
What's it doing here?
I don't know.
Now, why would he have this arsenal here?
And, by the way, growing up in peaceful Cypress Corners, how does Rachel even know what a tank is? Back to Devon. He finds Trent secured to a wall with her head drooping to one side. Her face is bloodied. She talks about the death of her husband, who was put in the outer city, wherever that is, and of her doubts about the leadership. Devon thinks he can get her exonerated during the investigation that Smith has ordered. Fat chance. He believes that the attack plans were forgeries.
I drew up the plans.
You did?
Yes. He asked me to. Well, I had grave doubts, but I never thought we'd ever get out of the biosphere, so what was the harm? He'd won me a promotion. Now he can hold it against me as evidence, committing Manchester to a dangerous and immoral war. The whole thing. Get out, Devon. All of you, while you can.
No. Not until you're released and your wounds treated.
Devon is a stubborn sort, if you haven't noticed. We cut back to Garth and Rachel, who still haven't been discovered roaming around in the armory. They come to a door marked Exit Forbidden.
I wonder if this could be the way out.
Let's find out.
I think they've stumbled upon the outer city. It reminds me of Pittsburgh when all the steel plants were still in business. Our two appear on the blue screen, and we hear what I thought was a cat.
That sounds like a baby. How can people live out here?
Okay, Rachel was right. It's a baby in its mother's arms, but there's something very wrong with that baby.
Bring out your dead. Bring out your dead.
My mind immediately went to Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Garth and Rachel start to choke. If they think they can just get back in, I'm fairly sure they're mistaken.
Bring out your dead.
There's poison.
Bring out.
We gotta get out of here.
What about the baby?
Come on.
But they don't even make it as far as the portal before they both collapse in a heap to end Act 2. In Act 3, Devon sees Garth being wheeled into an infirmary. A nurse tells him that Rachel is in the women's infirmary.
Where's Rachel?
Oh, she's in the woman's infirmary. She's all right. She's asleep, so don't you bother her.
What happened to them?
Oh, they were overcome by the air outside.
I don't get you.
Now, don't you worry. It's their first exposure, and only for a short time. Thank heavens the guards were looking for them. You know, a few hours longer and recovery isn't guaranteed, you know.
That nurse is played by Canadian Doris Petrie, who didn't start acting on screen until she was in her mid-50s, but she continued until she was in her late 70s. Devon asks what's going on out there.
If you have questions, put them to Mr. Smith, not to me.
Garth also mentions the armaments, and Devon asks why they need those. The nurse appears to be afraid to talk about it. They're being monitored.
Please, no more questions. I have to do a final X-ray on you. Now he can see us, but he can't hear us.
Won't that make them even more suspicious? And why is she whispering if they can't hear them? She goes through with pretending to take the X-ray while the two men scheme to find a way out. The woman is worried that she'll be punished, but Devon begs her to help them. Devon offers to take her with them.
Don't even say we talked.
Go get the girl.
Well, at least they didn't arrest the nurse. Devon and Garth, as well as Rachel, are escorted to Mr. Smith's office.
Well, well, well. Whatever possessed you to fill your lungs with that garbage?
Devon asks what happened to their filtration system.
It's working more or less. It's a little overloaded, and we did have to build this inner city. That's where we are now, of course.
Rachel steps forward. She looks awfully good, considering the ordeal she's just been through. Rachel and Devon lecture Smith about the pollution and forcing people to live in such conditions.
Do you realize that we are on the way to exceeding all production goals, to being the biggest suppliers in the galaxy?
Suppliers of what? Armaments?
Smith says that now that there's no threat from the outside, it can convert to civilian commerce.
What about Trent?
She's been released and is on her way home to recuperate.
You expect me to believe that?
Sir, you believe whatever you want to. But don't you come into my office, the head of state, and hurl insults at me.
Once again, Smith mentions being shown the way out of the dome. The three think they should help him because they think he can help them get the Ark back on course. I'm sorry, but I don't think he can be trusted to help them. After they agree to help Smith, Devon and Garth run into that nurse.
It's Trent. She's been sent outside to die.
The two men run off. Act 4 picks up where we left off with Mr. Smith at that view screen.
That screen's been troubling me for some time. But she'll wait.
Do you think they can really find a way out of the biosphere, Mr. Smith?
My dear, I've never wished fugitives better luck in my life.
Our friends find the masks the nurse told them about. They put them on and they head outside. That woman and the baby are gone.
Guy dead for me? Just making one trip tonight.
He's Canadian actor Les Ruby, who's played in scores of films and television productions. He's best known for his appearance on the Wayne and Schuster comedy shows in Canada. Devon looks on the cart and he finds Trent. She's not dead yet.
Trent! 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 Are you alive? Trent!
She tells Devon not to trust Mr. Smith.
He said he wants to open the way to the Ark. He wants to clear the air here with the Ark's filtration system.
Everybody out there will die.
If they shut down the manufacturing plants, sooner or later the filtration system will take care of itself. The man protests when Garth picks up Trent to carry her away.
What do you want her for? She's dying anyway.
We cut to a tight shot on the secretary's legs. The camera pulls back and she hands Smith a handgun. He caresses it and he walks off toward the infirmary. We cut to Devon telling Trent that he'll get her to the infirmary where the nurse will help her. If he only knew.
She can't help now. I've been out too long. I've passed the point of absorption. Find your way out. Leave me here.
Devon asks the question that I've been wondering all along. Where are the guards?
Think he's watching us?
Yes, I think he's around here somewhere.
Oh, he's watching all right. He has his secretary at his side and half a dozen men with rifles hiding behind some crates of explosives.
Now what kind of a game are they playing? They can't have Trent with them. She's dead by now.
Come on out, Smith!
Be careful, Mr. Smith.
How's Trent?
Come and see!
Smith takes the bait and comes forward. Devon sees that Smith's men are armed, but Garth knows how to even the odds. He opens a crate containing automatic weapons and he divvies them up amongst the three of them. Smith comes unarmed to see Trent.
Sorry to see you like this.
In her dying breath, Trent tells Devon to put masks on and to let the air in from outside. There's a brief exchange of gunfire before Smith and company are forced to withdraw.
Masks! Masks, you fool! How long do you think we can live in this?
The lockers are empty, sir.
Test my exposure limit. Move!
Devon tries his key in that computer module, and a large door opens.
When we learn how to control that madman, we'll come back.
Unless he gets out first.
While I won't say that this was a bad episode, it simply didn't hold my interest as much as the others. They missed so many opportunities. Just a thought. But maybe if the video was slowed down, the miniature might have looked a little more natural. I guess the miniature might have held up better if we were still watching on 19-inch CRTs. Top resolution about 486 interlace scan lines. Not high def. At this point, after seeing so many of the domes in total chaos, I'm wondering if the Ark is even worth saving. Will we find a dome worthy of redemption? Join me again and we'll find out. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll continue to reminisce about the Starlost.